Polaris SnoCross versus Sled Storm. These are two unique snowmobile racing games that were released for the PlayStation back in late 99 and early 2000. And both are arcade focused racers that did get various releases on different consoles, with Polaris SnoCross getting releases on Windows PC, the Nintendo 64 and the Game Boy Color, while Sled Storm got a release on the PlayStation 1 and it also got a later release on the PlayStation 2. And both are very unique games in terms of what they offer, as they are arcade focused but they also focus on the extreme sports racing element. So if you're familiar with games likes of Cool Boarders, these games would be similar to that, only to use snowmobiles instead of using snowboards. And they both offer some very unique and fun characteristics that make them worthwhile playing. Both games do offer really good soundtracks also, with Sled Storm more notably having soundtracks from the likes of Rob Zombie among other well-known artists at that time. So each has its own unique features, but what are the differences between the two? Well, with Sled Storm you have access to a number of different game modes where you can go into more of a open world type of environment through championship mode where you race around longer and wider tracks, but you do have a different mode where you race on shorter, more narrower type of tracks. The gameplay is fun, it's fast paced and it's frantic, and it has very good graphics, and it is considered to be one of the best, if not the best, of all of the snowmobile games on the PlayStation 1. Now, as there wasn't that many of them, there was only like a handful of them. There was between this, there was Polaris SnoCross and SnoCross Racing Championship. I have done previous videos on all three games, so I'll make sure to drop links below in the description. But the one thing that's noticeable about Sled Storm is that it was published and developed by Electronic Arts, and the game took a huge influence from the Road Rash series, as it has a lot of unique elements that were familiar if you've ever played the old Road Rash motorbike racing games. It definitely has that vibe or that feel. So that's one thing they were able to really capture. And what's another cool feature about Sled Storm is the fact is that it's one of the very few titles on the PlayStation 1 to include 4-player support if you have the PlayStation multi-tap accessory. So you could play it with a group of your mates, so you'd actually have a lot of fun playing it. Now the game is really fun to play, and it does offer a lot of different modes and some really cool tracks on offer with fast and frantic gameplay thrown in. But it's not without its flaws, as there are some areas that can drive players crazy, especially with the likes of the computer AI, as it can be very difficult to win races even on a lower difficulty, as the AI can be tweaked with a catch-up logic that means that no matter how fast you go, you're never too far away from an opponent. They're always able to catch up with you or literally able to overtake you whenever they see fit, so that can frustrate a lot of players. And the same goes for Polaris SnoCross Championship, as that also utilises a similar method to win races. But what are the main differences between both of the games? Like with Sled Storm, it has its influences from Road Rash and it has a lot of really cool and iconic features and fast and frantic gameplay. Polaris SnoCross has very similar features, but it's not executed as well, or it's not as well polished as Sled Storm. Again, it has a lot of really cool features in its own right, but graphically it would not be as well polished as Sled Storm. The controls themselves, even though they're quite good, aren't as responsive and wouldn't be as fast paced to use. And couple that with the likes of the computer AI and with the handling mechanics, you'll find at times that the twitchiness of the controls can cause players to lose the ability to keep the driver on the snowmobile at different times, because if you go over a jump or if you land in an awkward way, or even if another player tips you with their snowmobile, the chances are you'll just go flying off the snowmobile, and it can happen just randomly. So that in itself can frustrate a lot of players. So a lot of the time with races, it really depends on pure luck as to whether you're going to win races. But the one thing to note with Polaris SnoCross that's different compared to Sled Storm is, even though Sled Storm has different game modes and has just as many tracks, the tracks do vary from, say, narrow to wide tracks, but they are limited in terms of where you can go. Whereas with Polaris SnoCross, each track has a ton of different shortcuts that you can use, so you have the freedom to explore and to see which shortcut or avenue you can take can give you an advantage in the race. But just note that on the negative side, that also the computer AI will also always use the shortcuts as well. So you do have to rely on pure luck to hope that they make a mistake so that you can gain an advantage in a race. That's the real negative feature with it. But between the two games, they're both very, very good to play. Although Sled Storm is much faster paced, Polaris SnoCross doesn't come across as being overly quick in terms of the general speed of the snowmobiles in the game, but it still plays quite well. Sometimes the glitchiness of the controls and the collision detection can put you off. When compared to Sled Storm, you don't really have those issues as much, so you can find that you'll have a more fluent experience with that game. But between the two, they're both really good games to play, and if you're into PlayStation extreme sports games, they're both great games to experience, as you will have a lot of fun with either of them. They both have their own unique aspects to them that are warrant to play through. Yes, they have their own unique elements and flaws, but that shouldn't take away from the potential fun that you can have and experience that you'll have on offer. It really just depends on your own play style, and there is games there that will suit your needs. So if you aren't really that into one, you'll find you might enjoy the other one just a little bit more. But it really just depends on yourself when you're playing it. But in my opinion, they're both worth checking out. If you're into racing games and you do like obscure off-road racing games or even arcade style games, both of these games are definitely worth a look, and I highly recommend you go and check them out. And I would love to know your thoughts on both of these games, if you have played each of them yourself on the PlayStation, and if so, what are your thoughts on them? Be sure to share them down in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more of these comparison videos where I do compare various types of racing games or even other types of genres in general, where I do share my thoughts and experience with everyone, then be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be updated when future videos are released. And if you want to see more comparison videos on the channel, be sure to check out this playlist here on the screen for more videos like this. So until next time, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and keep those gaming memories alive.